Oh, I'm sorry. I'll take a second still. 1 second, please. I see I didn't put it on. Okay, 1 second.
I've been having trouble getting the recordings. I think there's a problem behind the scenes, but I'll look into it later.
Thank you very much. Benjamin Warlock called me and told me something. Did he call you? Did he speak to you?
He forwarded me something about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Maybe I did something wrong. I don't know. But
I don't think it's. I think it's. You're doing what needs to be done. I just have to check into the back end of it. So I'll check that and let you know.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So we're on the last page. Taflamet Beis. Tanu Rabbanan. This is talking about when a person gets an aliyah. So you open the Sefer Torah, and people see different minhagim with different shuls. Do you close the Sefer Torah when you say the bracha or not? That's the sugi over here. Tanu Rabbanan. Pasech v'roeh golel u'mevorech v'chozer pasech v'koreh de Rab Meir. Meir says that you open up the Sefer Torah in order to see where you're supposed to read, that you should know what he's saying a bracha on, and everybody agrees to that. But then he says when you say the bracha, you should close it. Close the Sefer Torah when you say the bracha, and then open it again in order to read. That you don't have to close it again. The Mefarshim said that means you don't have to. Not that he says dafka, but he says you don't have to. You could open up the Sefer Torah and see where you're supposed to read and say the bracha and read. You don't have to close it while you're saying the bracha. My time with Rab Meir. Why is Rab Meir makbid that you should dafka close the Sefer Torah when you're saying the bracha? So he compares it to a different halacha that Ula says. I mean, Rab Meir is a Tana, but the best bringing in Amora Ula in order to explain where Rab Meir is coming from. Ula says that the person who's reading the Torah is not supposed to help the translator. As we said, that there are some places, even nowadays, by the Yemenites, and in the old and times of the Gemara, most places did not all places that they would translate. The reader would say one pasuk, and then the translator would translate it into Aramaic. So we have many halachas about that. So here it says that the reader is not allowed to help. Let's say the translator has difficulty; he can't find the word, so he shouldn't help him. The reader, everybody else could help him, but the reader should not help. It seems that they didn't read the translation like we would have from Targum Onkelos. He said it by knowledge. He saw the word translated. So he was having difficulty translating the word. So the reader should not help him. Why not? In order that people shouldn't think that it says the translation in the Torah. People will make such a mistake. So therefore, based on that, or the same idea, same line of thought, in order that people shouldn't think that the brachas are written in the Torah. If he'd be looking in the Torah and saying the brachas, people might think that the brachas are also written in. So therefore, Meir says, close the Sefer Torah when you say the bracha. Rabbi Yehuda, that he does not require to close the Sefer Torah when you say the brachas, because he says there's no such chash. Targum mika lamite, brachas like a lamite. That there's more people that will make a mistake to think that the translation is written in. That's more reasonable to have such a mistake. But that the brachas are written in the Sefer Torah is very far-fetched, and therefore Rabbi Yehuda is not choshesh. He holds that you don't have to close the Sefer Torah, and you can say the bracha when the Sefer Torah is open. So he says the same as Rabbi Yehuda says. The halacha is, Rabbi Zera says the halacha is that you can open the Sefer Torah, read and see what you're supposed to read, and say the bracha. That means without closing the Sefer Torah and read. No chash that people will think that the bracha is written in. Why doesn't he say openly halacha Rabbi Yehuda? Blame halacha Rabbi Yehuda. The same as yesterday's Gemara. That's how the Gemara ended off. Instead of saying the whole halacha, he should have just said halacha Rabbi Yehuda. We know already that there's halacha. Rabbi Meir Yehuda had machlokus about this. Rabbi Meir says you have to close it. Yehuda says you don't have to close it. So he should have just said Rabbi Yehuda. The answer is the same as yesterday. There were some people that had different girsa, and if he does say halacha Rabbi Yehuda, they might think that Rabbi Yehuda is the one who says you do have to close it. So he made it clear by saying you don't have to close it. That's the end of the sugya. That's how we paskin. You don't have to close the Sefer Torah. I think by the Chassidim they do close it. Anybody recall? Anybody know that?
Most people close. Besides the chor,
I think that, and I think that the Shulchan Aruch says you don't have to, and there's no machlokus about it. Everybody knows you don't have to, but some people are makbid yes to close it, and you may. I mean, everybody knows that you may close. Everybody knows that you may. Everybody knows that you may.
Whatever you do is okay.
So whatever you do is okay. And
Yeah, so long as it's fire, so it's a child to tzibur to close it.
not so, probably doesn't take so much time.
Yeah, but that's the chiddush was.
Okay, I don't think it's such. I don't know if it says such a thing. I don't know if it says such a thing. I don't know. I mean, in order to bring a proof that even a small tzibur like that, you have to bring a proof. You'd have to say. So I don't know if it says.
Can't find a place.
If you can't find that's not true. If you can't find the place, and then it's true. Then better to leave it open. That's the tzibur that he can't find the place. That's true. That would be that would have. So the luck is if there's a place that the customer is not going to close it. So just based on the fact that everyone else you're allowed to close it. So maybe that will be something to do. Don't be different than everybody else. If you come to a place where the minute is everybody closes it, so close it also. I think.
But maybe I'm not okay. I'm just thinking out loud. If you make point of it, you show like you're closing up the kavana, but you could make it like you just if you leave it open the kavana, you like make a statement. But if you just like they could think you forgot to close it.
It could be, but if they know that everybody's doing it, the Rav's doing it, everybody's doing it, so then maybe it's the proper thing to do like them. Just not if they make a machlokas out of it, kind of thing. If it's like you're showing you that you're different, so the halach is that you're allowed to. So again, the halach is everybody holds. We pass like a Yehuda, and no matter what the name is, we pass that you don't have to close it. There's no chash, and there are some places that do, and you may. Everybody holds that you may close it, but you don't have to. Next Gemara. Amar Rabbi Zera Amar Ramatana. Haluchos v'abimos en behem mishum kedusha. Bima, the bima would be the stage. What we call the bima, it's interesting that people call the bima the table. The table they call the teva in the olden days. Now the Sfardim call it the teva. The bima would really mean the stage, but we call the whole stage together with if there's a stage or no, some shuls don't have a stage, it does have a table. So that's called the bima nowadays. So the Rashi here seems to say that it means a stage, and that does not have kedusha. It doesn't have kedusha of the Sefer Torah. It has kedusha.
Stage like in the chur.
Right. The stage where you stand on where the bima is, so that's what they call the bima nowadays. So it doesn't have kedusha. Right? It doesn't have kedusha. It has kedusha of the basic knesses, but it doesn't have more kedusha of the Sefer Torah. It's not considered kedusha. There are different levels of kedusha, and that was there earlier.
So you could put your hat and jacket there, for your coat.
Kedusha is basic knesses. So the question is that the table, what we call the bima is the place we put the Sefer Torah. So that maybe that's not simple anymore already. That if it's miyuchad, if it will be miyuchad to put the Sefer Torah over there, so then it does have kedusha Sefer Torah. They do talk about the fact that more earlier. I think I wasn't there those days, but it talks about that if there's a mapa that they put a tablecloth on top, there's some kind of a velvet cloth on top. So then. And also they put plastic on top of that also. So then it would be called a tashmish, and the bima would not have kedusha. If it's always put the Sefer Torah on top of something, so then the actual table would not have kedusha. That's called a tashmish. They call it a tashmish. That's the more earlier. I think that, and it'll be mutter. But on the tablecloth itself, it would be called the tashmish of the Sefer Torah. The Sefer goes onto that cloth. So really, minadi, you're not allowed to put a hat on top of the bima because over there is it's basically kedusha. So they thought so the header is that leibezim must not learn that people, since they're not makpid, so then when they make these things, they make it with a tanai that it should not be designated only for kedusha. Means technically you would not allow to be put things, not only a hat, you wouldn't be allowed to put probably sforim less than a sefer Torah either. Tzedakah, all those things. So technically it could be that you wouldn't be allowed to put it onto the what we call the bima because it's on the place we put the sefer Torah, designated for the sefer Torah. But they lachatchila when they make it, they don't designate it only for the sefer Torah. They make it al tanai, so therefore that will be right to use it. But Agama is talking about without any tanai, and it says that the stage itself, the place where you stand, is not considered the kedusha of sefer Torah. It's only considered the kedusha of the basic knesses. The question about luchos means luchos v'abimos. What does the word luchos mean? I'm just trying to get a pointer over here. I see I'm not.
This.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. So the word luchos. What does the word luchos mean? So that's not clear. Not clear in the Mefarshim what the luchos means. It's not brought down in Shulchan Aruch. So Rashi says himself he doesn't know. Just point out Rashi. Rashi says he doesn't know. Lo yadati. I don't.
I'm embarrassed.
Wow.
Lo yadati mine. I don't know what the luchos are. Okay. Then Rashi brings down a pshat that it means maybe hasuyin l'sfarim shalonu she'enon hasuyin begilyon. I think Rashi seems to say it's like a book cover. The book covers. When you have books that are not made in the scroll, it's made like our kind of books. So I think the luchos would mean the book covers. Maybe it doesn't have the kedusha of the sefer itself. I don't know. Taisvis has a pshat that he brings down that maybe it means the margins of the sefer. It brings down the oruch, and the Rabbi Hananel seems to say like that. But Taisvis has difficulty with that because there's a someplace else that talks about the margins. And Shabbos Kufta Zayin over there talks about that the margins of the Sefer, as long as they're connected, do have Kedusha, and after they're cut off, the Gemara over there has a question about it. So Taisus says also that he doesn't seem to know. And in the Shulchan Aruch, it doesn't say, I didn't see anything about the Luchos that it talks about over here, so we don't know exactly what they are. The Gemara continues. Yes, please. Yes, please. Anybody? Okay. Amar Rabbi Shvati, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Golo Sefer Torah Tzarech Shem Midenu Ala Tefer. The one who rolls the Sefer Torah would we call Galila, Hagba Galila. In the olden days, just point out, the Gemara doesn't talk about Hagba Galila, just talks about Galila. It's what we call the one who picks it up. The Gemara called him a Gola also. The Gola means to roll the Sefer Torah, and the way we roll it is you have one person picking it up, another person. Also, his main point is to show it to the tzibur, and then also they roll it. The one who's going to close it is called the Gola. In the Gemara, it doesn't divide between the Magbi and the Golel, just calls Golel. And poskim say that the Iker is the one who picks it up. The one who is the Golel, what we call the Golel, is not the Iker anymore. The main point is the person who picks it up. And maybe some argue on that and say, I think that some have a different opinion, but the more popular opinion is that the Magbiya is the main person, and then the Golel, the one who's closing it, the Galila, is not as important as the Magbiya. But anyway, the point over here would make sense to the Golel, the one who's closing the Sefer Torah. So he has to put the Sefer Torah should be on the seam.
He's closing it?
Yes.
1 second. So why you
I'm sorry.
to help it? Actually, they're both closing. The Gila and the Magbiya and the Gila closing.
Okay, so the one who's the Magbiya doesn't have too much control. It's the one who's turning it. He's the one who's closing it. The one who's other one is not doing so much. But okay, the point is that when they close the Sefer Torah, they should close it on the seam. Yes, please.
I have here Esarash Shekaro B'Torah Godel Shebehem Golel Sefer Torah. Did we miss that, or?
I think you're ahead of us. Is that true?
I'm ahead of you. Oh, I'm ahead of you. Okay, thank you.
So here the halach is tefer that is supposed to be on the seam. The tefer like tefirah to sew. So we had earlier about the tefer that you're not supposed to sew till the very edge because it might tear when it gets some strain. And here the same point is that when we want the Sefer Torah to be closed, it should be closed on the seam. Why? That in case it tears, it'll tear on the seam. It won't tear on the cloth. So that's what you're supposed to do when you close the Sefer Torah. That the seam should be in between the two rolls. Some people don't know that. You have to tell them that when you close the Sefer Torah, it should be on the seam. Another statement. I don't recall Rabbi Shvati other places. Here's a couple of them in a row. Rabbi Shvati Amar Rabbi Yochanan. When you close the Sefer Torah, you should close it from the outside, not from the inside. So there are a few pshatim over here. Rashi seems to say if you're holding it on your lap, if you're holding a scroll on your lap, so hold the outer scroll, the one that's further away from you, the ones that by your knees, not the one that's closer to you, in order that it shouldn't slip out. If you're going to hold, if it's on your lap, vertically, it's horizontal. I'm sorry, it's on your lap. You have the two rolls of the scroll. So hold the one that's further away in order that it shouldn't fall off your lap. But if you're going to hold the one closer to you, so then the other one might just unravel. It's simple. Also, the other pshat that they say is that the one who's closing it, the point would be that it should be towards him. I don't see it in the words too much, but the point is that the one who picks up the Sefer Torah, it should be towards him. The writing should be towards him.
Yeah.
So the golel, I'm sorry, the golel would mean the one who starts putting around the belt. We'll call him the golel, the galila, what we call galila. So when you're doing that, so then he should bring the belt around from the outside into the inside, and then to tie it in the inside. That's also part of the memo over here. So the knot, this is shot that the knot, when you make the knot, the bow, however you close it, or the belt, whatever the clip that they use nowadays. So you should be on the inside of the Sefer Torah, the side where you open it. And Taisus explains the reason is because when you can open it again, so you shouldn't have to turn the Sefer Torah upside down in order to be able to untie the knot. So when you're putting the belt around this, so put it from the outside. That they explained that to make sure that it doesn't fall. That if you would be putting the belt from the inside, it might be that there's nothing protecting it from falling backwards. the Mishnah Berurah says that nowadays, and that if you have two people, go a Magdi and a Golel, so then the person who's doing Glila, he's standing on the other side of the Sefer Torah, so there's no chash that's going to fall. So it isn't so important. And he says it is okay if he wants to put the belt to slip it over on top of the Sefer, on the other side of the Sefer Torah, not bad. It's okay, even though what the Gemara says you should be Golel with chutz. Start taking the belt and from the outside in, but he says it's not terrible because the person's standing there anyway, and it's not going to fall. If it falls, he's right there to protect it. But the second halach is that when you make the place where you close it, the tying up the belt or putting in the clip should be in the inside of the Sefer Torah, means the place where it opens, in order that when they open it again next time, they shouldn't have to turn the Sefer Torah upside on the side in order to be able to open it. The knot will be open on top. They shouldn't have to be on the other side.
The person gets hot.
Yes.
He has to be bar mitzvah.
Let's see the next line. I think that'll answer the question. Rashi says lav dafka. Of course, you have to have 10 people to read the Torah. The point is, like he's going to say, of the 10 people that read the Torah, Hagadol Shabahen Gadol Sefer Torah. The biggest kibbud is the Hagba. Here it says Galila. The poskim say that when you do Hagba and Galila, so the Hagba is the one, and you should really give it to the biggest of the congregation. Here it even says the biggest of the 10, and some understand that it means of the ones who got an aliyah. But the Mishnah Berurah brings down from the Gra that he thinks lav dafka, the people who read the Torah, the biggest of the congregation is supposed to get hagba. You don't have that nowadays.
Not at all.
Not at all. It's so strange how things became very different.
You bring a Kohen, people look at you like, what do you bring a Kohen for? This is much.
Sometimes you don't give the Kohen Levi because they get enough aliyahs, but really you're supposed to give it to the most mechubad. You're supposed to give it to the most honorable person. Hagba is supposed to be the biggest cover.
I thought it was Galila.
The Gemara does say, here it says Golel, but the Mefarshim say that now that we do Hagba and Galila, we have two people. If they were able to do only one person, maybe by the Sfardim, because the Sfardim, they have the box Sefer Torah, so they don't have two people, so then it's all one person. But now that we have, the way we do it, the Ashkenazim, we have two people, so they say that the Hagba is the main one and the Galila not. I do know somebody that held that the Galila, the Talmud Chacham, he held that the Galila is more important than anything, and because he's the one who's closing it, they give it to kids nowadays. It's very strange because the Maftir, we said, is really the least, and now became a big cover to get Maftir, and Hagba is the best. Hagba is the biggest cover, and nowadays it became that they give Galila to the kids, and Hagba also you give it to the strong. Yes,
I understood that the reason why they do that is because they don't want to be a mavazah, someone there who is a Talmud Chacham, or like why they give it to him? Why they give it to him? So they just give it to the kid, just so there's no.
Okay, that's interesting. You take the biggest cover, then no, there shouldn't be fights. You're going to give it to the kid. That's interesting, pshara. Like it's interesting. So the Mishnah Berurah does bring down such a thing that since people they're really supposed to give it to the most mechubad, and they don't because people start fighting. So that's a sad thing. That and now became that it's not a cover at all, but on the contrary, really, just in the yeshiva, it is interesting. The yeshiva they give the Rosh Yeshiva, they used to give the Rosh Yeshiva Hagba. Like as it can be pretty steady. They used to get the Rosh Yeshiva Hagba, like the Gemara says, that's the and Galila.
That was the day when you were in yeshiva?
I'm saying over here, just to point out that the Galila itself, the one who's closing the Sefer Torah, also might be considered Gdei Mechubad. Nowadays, the custom is to give it to children, and the Mishnah Berurah brings down, I think, from the Shari Ephraim, in order to be mechanech for chinuch. But it is interesting. They give him such. I guess they don't want to give him an aliyah, so they give him at least Galila. As far as Hagba, Moshe asked before to give a katan, does you have to be bar mitzvah? So here it says, I don't think it's usher, but it says a gadol shabam is supposed to be really a big cover. You give it to the person who's mechubad. Of course, he has to be strong enough that he shouldn't drop the Sefer Torah. Also,
the more obvious.
Okay.
Even though he might have physical strength, he might not have coordination.
Also, okay, so you have to be careful if it's a katan or if it's going to be an old person. Also, you have to be careful. You have to be careful with the older people. Also, it could be the most mechubad, but if it's not strong enough, also you have to be careful. So that's a technical problem. But as far as it's not proper. Probably it's not proper to give hagba to a katan because the point is supposed to be that it's supposed to be the cover. It's the gadol shabahen. Also, the Gemara continues, the one who gets Galila, I'm sorry, the highlight's coming out a little strange. Golel notel schar kulan. The words it says over here is that the one who does Hagba, Galila, gets the reward of everybody, of all the readers. He gets all the schar. The one who closes the Sefer Torah, he gets the schar of everybody. Just to point out, in all these Gemaras, the Ben Chananel has an interesting word. He says, by Golel, he says, Amashlim. Where is that? where I saw Ben Hanan over here. Here it is, a Muslim. Interesting. Oh, I meant this one, a Muslim. That's interesting. It means the one who gets the last aliyah. That's what Ben Hanan seems to say. He's not going to argue in the Gemara. It means the Gemara says Gola, but he means the one who finishes off. He's the one who closes the Sefer Torah last. Nothing special about what we call Hag Megillah. That's the one who finishes off. But the Mefarshim, they go with the Hagba. Anyway, here it says that he gets a reward, and the Gemara says he gets all the reward. Schar Kulan Salkadaitach, he gets all the reward. Nobody else gets reward. Elaim Makibot Schar Keneged Kulan. He gets as much schar as everybody else. That whatever all the other schar of all of the readers, the one who did Hagba, or what we what we call Hagba, so he gets schar as much as everybody else. That's considered a big kavod. I don't exactly understand why. Why is that considered? Why is it so? Why is it so that he's the one who gets schar keneged kulan, and we give the honor to the biggest one? Why is it so?
I want to get on to the question. It's hard to read the Torah is more chashuv than to close it.
So why is that? Maybe it's covered the Torah. I don't know. I don't know what the. Yes, please.
I understood that it's like when he does Hagba, it's like he's getting all the aliyahs, like the whole.
So why is that?
Getting all the aliyahs because he's doing the Hagba. So that is like the whole Torah, the whole everything. He's toifus on the whole Torah when he's doing the Hagba.
Why is that? That's the point out. It's that what we call Hagba is not. There's some places they do Hagba before Kriyas Torah. The Shulchan Aruch says Hagba before Kriyas by the Sfardim. They do some Chassidim. They pick up Sefer Torah, put it down again, and then Galila just means that you roll it up. It doesn't have to do with showing it. So we have to talk about just closing the Sefer Torah. Closing it. Why is that Keneged Kulan? Why is that so chashuv? The one who closes it. Even if the Gemara says it goes together over here, Hagba Galila, what we do Hagba Galila, but the point of the Gemara is the one who closes it. It happens to be the one who picks it up. He's going to close it also, and the one who's helping the child, whatever, who's helping to do Galila. But why is that so chashuv? Why do you see that that's Keneged everybody?
Well,
So it must be the Meforshim here.
Somebody closes it. That means that whatever we did with the Sefer Torah in its open state to absorb the wisdom of the Torah, or to read and to listen to the Torah, the one who closes it is Galgel, the whole. It's a process. In other words, if it wasn't closed, it wouldn't have the kedusha of being open and closed. It's a seder, and the seder is to open and to close.
I don't understand. All I can say is I don't understand. If you have a book, of course you have to close the book afterwards. It's covered. I say for to close it, not to leave it open. But I don't understand that that's how he's getting the whole. That's more chashuv than the reading of the book. Yeah, we read for an hour, whatever, 2 hours, 5 hours, we learn, and then you close the book. So I'm not sure. I don't get it. Especially that the Gemara does not mean Hagba, even though our custom is to do Hagba together. But it's not the point.
Kind of explanation.
No, I don't understand. I just think I don't know. I don't know what the chashivas of Galila is.
Excuse me, Rebbe.
Yes, please.
Before you go on, I think I spaced out when you were talking about the 10 that read the Torah. We're talking about the minyan, if there's a minyan, because 10 don't really read ever. Right,
true. And the Mishnah Berurah, not the Mishnah Berurah, Rashi just says it means that doesn't mean Rashi doesn't make a big deal out of it. Whereas Rashi, Asar Shekaru, Rashi just says Lufisha ain't Korin the Torah. Since you can't read less than a minyan, so that means 10 read the Torah. Rashi says it doesn't mean Rashi says it doesn't mean anything specific about 10. It just means
the 10 that were there while it was being read. In order for it to be able to be read, the biggest of them is the one that goes, okay.
And maybe the Gemara is going to be built on what you were saying. The Gemara says it doesn't mean of those who read. The Shulchan Aruch says of those who read. Of those who read, the greatest one should get Hagba, Galila. And the Gemara says no, of the minyan, anybody that's there. And as you're saying, because only 7 read.
Minyan.
Right. So even if he didn't get an aliyah, also he would he'd give it to the greatest one. Okay, nowadays you don't see it too much. I don't see that custom too much. The Gemara continues. So there's a question
about being great, but we do have the custom that the one that gets Galila was one who did not read.
There's no custom dafka the one who but there's no custom dafka the one who didn't read. Even the great it will be the.
I don't think I've ever seen. I think they want to give the honor to somebody else. So I've never seen somebody who read get Galila. Yeah,
but I don't think that anybody says dafka. That would be a new thing. That dafka don't keep one of those that read. It doesn't seem to say that. It says even one that didn't read. But if the greatest one happens to be one who did read, so he would give it to him.
Then you would give it to him. Yeah. Okay, I see.
That's what it seems to say. Okay, so we're leaving it open as a question. How come it's such a great thing to be golel? I don't know. The Gemara continues. This comes in Agav. This has nothing to do with our sugya about reading the Torah. That's because of Shvati Rabbi Yochanan that we had his name a couple of times. So we bring more from him. So Shvati said the name Rabbi Yochanan. How do you know that you're allowed to use a baskol? A baskol means that you hear a voice. You hear a voice. Sometimes we see we know a baskol that I hear a voice from heaven. So it means you hear a voice and you have a question of doing something, and the baskol tells you do it, don't do it. So it says here you could rely on the baskol. Rashi says it's not considered dichush. There's you're not supposed to some kind of superstitions, and so here it's not considered a superstition if you rely on the baskol. You heard a voice that told you do something, whatever. So you're allowed to rely on it. It's not considered. Taish seems to say similarly.
Try to teach the halacha itself through baskol will make sense.
Right, so it says baskol that you don't. We're not going to listen to a baskol contrary to if there's a Torah authority that says something. That's not going to be machriya. It's not going to pass on halacha. But Taish brings down over here lo sanach shebelo sonenu afapi sheinichush yesh simen. That the Gemara seems to say, even though you're not allowed to rely on it fully, but you're allowed to take it as a good siman. So a siman. So that's whatever that sugya talks about. Here also we're going to say that it doesn't mean you mamish rely on it, but you could take it as a siman and think about it again, so to speak. That's what we might say. So you're allowed to rely on it. The pasuk in Yishaya says something about hearing a voice behind you, and he's saying take the pasuk, and you could see it remembers in the pasuk that you're allowed to use a baskol. But the Gemara says only if it's not a usual expected voice. Only if you heard the voice of a man in the city and the voice of a woman in the field. So I don't know why men are not in the city, but women are not in the field. And it means there's something here, unexpected call, unexpected voice, that you're in the field, you hear a voice of a woman that's not expected. So that could be something which is a message. It means it's not somebody that's calling out. I guess the point is to make sure that it's not somebody that's behind the tree or something like that. And also if you hear a voice of a man. So I don't know, I guess during the daytime, in those days, men went into the field, so they weren't in the city. Or I might say
maybe in the city here means like in the shuk, and the women would be the ones that are going to buy stuff.
I guess so.
I don't know.
Whatever the case would be, in the case where it's usually expected women should be, and you hear a man, so that's considered also a bit unusual. I guess that's what it means. So then you can rely on it. Otherwise, don't rely on it. One more condition: only if you heard it more than one time. You heard either question was we're doing yes, you heard two times, or you heard twice no. But it has to be that it was at least two times. One time, don't rely on it. If you heard a voice one time, don't rely on it. So do people do this? Does anybody hear any voices? Maybe we don't hear voices. There would be something that even if you would have some kind of a siman, but again, not to rely on it blindly, but it means to think about it again, take it into consideration, and maybe take it as a siman. Maybe from heaven they are sending you a message of some sort. So check it out again.
We had instances where the souls of ancestors came to people and told them things. So that's a different thing. That's not like a baskol.
Right.
Okay.
That wouldn't be a baskol, right? Another bonus that we get from Rab Shvati in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Kalakari below ne'ima v'shona below zimra Allah b'kas of Omer v'gam anina stati lam chukim lo tovim u'mishpatim lo yichyu b'hem. A person who reads psukim without sweetness, ne'ima, pleasantness.
He's supposed to read Torah in a pleasant way.
So Rashi seems to say about the Tamei Amikra. Rashi seems to say, where's Rashi? Kigon Tamei Amikros. So to read it in a pleasant way, and Shona below Zimra, if he learns Mishnayos, that seems to be learning without a song. Taisha says that they used to have some kind of a tune for Mishnayos because they used to do it by heart. Here's Taisha, Shorigim Lishos and Mishnayos Bezimra, Lafisha Hein Shona Nos and Balpeh, Validekach Hayun Iskorim Yosef. With the tune, they would remember it better. So this is the first opinion that says that a person, when he reads either Tanakh or learning Mishnayos, he should do it with some kind of a song. That's what it seems to say. And if not, then it's considered like not good laws. Chukim lo tovim, mishpatim lo yichyu b'hem. They're not going to live. So the Gemara Abaya attacks this. Maskef Abaya, mishum de lo yada lebasum mekala, mishpatim lo yichyu b'hem karizbe, because he doesn't have a good voice. He doesn't know how to make a nice tune. So you call that he's not going to live. So it seems to be that Abaya is against this pshat. Even though Rabbi Yochanan is quoted by Rabbi Yochanan, Abaya says not. Ela kedrav mishasha damar shnei tamid chachamim meyosh mir achas veinochen zem zeb alacha alei makasav omer v'gam ani nastati lehem chukim lo tovim u'mishpatim lo yechyu b'hem. So he argues and he says, no, the pshat of this pasuk is not going to be like you said that he doesn't sing it, but the point is that if you have two Talmidei Chachamim that don't discuss things calmly, two Talmidei Chacham that are in the city and they don't discuss things together in order to be able to get more clarity. So that's what it says, that I gave you good chukim and you're not using it well. Lo tovim. And I think some say the pshat is lo tovim, that they're not good to each other. So you're supposed to discuss and chavrusas, and they're supposed to discuss it calmly to be able to come to clarity. And that's what the pasuk is referring to if you don't do the Torah the right way. And it could be we don't pass like the first man, the Yomar, that says that he's supposed to have to do it with a ne'ima and a zimra. I don't know. The Gemara Abai seems to attack it and say you can't. Maybe this is bothered by the severity that it says la yichyu b'hem. Maybe he also agrees that's a proper thing to do. The Gemara, yes.
No, I mean, Sfar says it's a good thing to do. We
It
just
could
saying
be.
it's too strong, it's too severe to say.
Why does as far as say that it's a good thing to do?
Because it's supposed, Torah is supposed to be Teres Chaim.
That's fine. Yeah, that doesn't mean sing. I mean, I don't see that it means singing. That's not. Yeah, but I'm talking about the first thing. The first thing about saying it in a tune, I don't see that that's considered pashut. That you're supposed to sing it. Why should you sing it?
No.
However, that pleasant doesn't mean that it's a song. Everything according, you say a sweet Torah doesn't mean that it tastes good. Doesn't mean that it sounds good.
Sometimes I hear a shit, so I can't listen. It's very.
If it's better for you, it's better for you. But I don't see that it's bad. Some more cover the tongue. It depends. I would say one thing. Sometimes people, I just say that at one point, opposite. That sometimes people, for the first time, they're learning right away, they're singing. And they're not thinking what it says. There's something very difficult, the passage is being said. Right away, they're singing. The first time, what are you singing about? They don't know what it says. It's not a tune. Like the one says, it says Emma. It depends. If there's a serious, someone's making instructions for brain surgery and he's singing, what are you singing about? Take it, like you have to make sure that you're thinking what it says. So I just put it into perspective that even if it does say to sing, it means in a way that you're able to think about it, not just to be able to sing. The point is to think what you're saying. So
to absorb it.
Yeah, I think so. But the Gemara does say such a thing. I'm not saying the Gemara doesn't say such a thing, that there is a Abai attack that it can't be so serious. But maybe there is such a thing. I don't see it brought to Allah. I mean, I don't know if they should be brought to Allah. I'm saying if such a thing has a place to be brought down in Shulchan Aruch. But again, the Gemara says to be singing with a pleasant, I don't know, Rashi says kigon tamim mikvah. So it doesn't mean dafka with the trup, but it means kigon. It should be said in a pleasant way. And shona below zimra. So we have this Taisva says they used to say Mishnayos with a tune. Okay, the Gemara continues.
Yeah, but we have like Tosfos was saying that it's a good mnemonic device to remember something. So even the first time, if you get it into it with a certain tune, then maybe as you learn it, the deeper you go, you'll remember it also because of that tune.
It could be. That's what it seems to say. But
understanding obviously is part of this. It can't just be singing.
Yeah. The Gemara continues. If somebody holds on to a Sefer Torah naked, so either it goes on the Sefer Torah or it means on the hand. It means that it shouldn't touch the Sefer Torah directly. And this is famous. People know that you don't touch the cloth. And the Mishnah brings down even when someone's doing Hag B'Galila, sometimes the cloth gets rolled out too much and you have to pick it up. So do it with something, with a talus or something. Don't touch it directly. He says if you have to, you have to. And like a sofer that has to correct the Sefer Torah or to sew it, of course you're allowed to touch the cloth if you have to. But if you don't have to, so you're supposed to be marked not to touch it directly. And the Gemara says if he does touch the Sefer Torah, he's going to be buried naked as a punishment. The Gemara says you can't take it literally. It's not such a terrible thing that he deserves to be so disgraced. He's going to be buried naked. Means naked means that he's not going to have the mitzvah. Which no mitzvahs. He has no mitzvahs. Well, mitzvahs al kadaitach also can't take that. Couldn't mean that. Meant that. Also mitzvah. Without that mitzvah, which mitzvah? So Tosfos explains that if he was holding the Sefer Torah in order to learn from it or to do Hag B'Galila, whatever it might be, so he's not going to get reward for the learning or for the Galila that he did because he did it in an unrespectful way. So that mitzvah is going to lose. So we see this halacha that you're not supposed to touch the Sefer Torah directly. And that's why we paskin. And as Mr. Brewer says, if you have to, you have to. But if you don't have to, so you're supposed to be careful not to. The question is if this halacha applies not only to Sefer Torah, but to other scrolls also. Megillah Esther or whatever it might be, Megillah Seicha. Is it also the halacha or Navi? People have that the klaf, the shoes that have a klaf, are you supposed to, are you allowed to touch the klaf itself? So that's the question. And some are makbid not to touch it. And he said, and the Mr. Brewer says, or the I forgot the Ramah, that at least to do Netilas Yadayim. That if you do Netilas Yadayim first, then it's more reason to be able to touch the cloth. So by Sefer Torah, they're not makel on that. Even if someone washing Tilos Yadayim, still not to touch the Sefer Torah. But as far as the Nevi'im, Ksuvim, so then there is a Chumrah. Some would touch it directly, but some say to wash the Tilos Yadayim first, then you'd be able to touch the cloth of Megillah. Next Gemara, one more Gemara about the Sefer. Rabbi Yanai Beid Rabbi Yanai Saba Mishmeid Rabbi Yanai Rabba. So though Rabbi Yanai is over here, there's Rabbi Yanai. There's the son of, and his father was Rabbi Yanai Saba, the older Rabbi Yanai, and he said in the name of the great Rabbi Yanai. So I guess, I don't know. But what does he say? Mutav Tigolel Sefer Torah. Mitpachas, I'm sorry. V'al Yigolel Sefer Torah. It's better that Mitpachas. The Mitpachas is the cloth that they're going to cover the Sefer Torah with. So it's better that should be rolled rather than the Sefer Torah should be rolled. So nowadays, the way we have Ashkenazim, the way we have that's already sewn into a mantle, into a coat that fits on top, so that you don't have it's not relevant. You can't roll, you're not rolling anything. You just put it in the Sefer Torah. But the point would be that you're supposed to not move the Sefer Torah. Let's say they have a wraparound. You'd have some kind of a cloth that you'd wrap around the Sefer Torah. So wrap the cloth around the Sefer Torah. Don't wrap the Torah into the cloth. That's not honor for the Sefer Torah. I think the same thing might be that if you have the way we have the sewn me'il, we have it already sewn to shape, but it wouldn't be right to hold the me'il and to put the Sefer into it, to put the Sefer Torah into it. You hold the Sefer Torah and you cover it. That's the honor. The honor is to hold the Sefer Torah stationary, and the cloth should be the one that's being wrapped around, or put on, not to put the Sefer Torah into the cloth in a way that the cloth stays stationary and the Sefer Torah is being moved around. The same thing might be, I don't remember, but I think the Mishnah maybe says the same thing by tefillin also. Let's say you wrap the Ritzuas around the tefillin. So don't hold the Ritzua stationary and wrap the tefillin around it. You hold the tefillin and you wrap the Ritzua around it, the same idea. So whatever the application will be over here, that's the point. That's
interesting. The chassid goes around the Kaaba. You're making her more chassid, no?
The color goes around the chassid.
That's
Okay. So whatever the application of this
Excuse me, you're saying with the tefillin. So like when we put the cover on the tefillin, we should put it on. We shouldn't put the tefillin into the cover.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't think of that. Maybe, I didn't think of that. Is that do you see something being more chashuv? If you hold the tefillin stationary and cover it, would that be considered more chashuv? That seems like very delicate, very small movement over there. Maybe.
No, but there's a different reason to do an apps, because if you put the film into the cover, you're able to get the corners in without the.
Okay, if there's any technical reason to be careful, so then whichever way is more technical.
Not to damage the corners.
That's what they told me.
Okay, in the last Gemara by Dabra Moshe's Moadei Adonai Bnei Yisrael Mitzvasen Sheyu Koronosan Kolecha B'Yechav Bizmano. This is the Mishnah, the quote of the Mishnah that it said you're supposed to read the Torah on different occasions, and it said all different occasions over there in the Mishnah. So the Gemara brought this pasuk. The Mishnah brought the pasuk. Shenemar brings this pasuk by Dabra Moshe's Moadei Hashem Bnei Yisrael. What does the drasha say exactly? So Rashi here says the drasha is, why does it have to say the pasuk that Moshe said the Moedim? Of course, Moshe said the Moedim. He said the whole Torah. So it means Moshe spoke about the Moedim to Bnei Israel. That's what the Gemara is going to say, that Moshe spoke to Bnei Israel about the Moedim. That Moshe enacted for Bnei Israel, it's just takana, the takana from Moshe Rabbeinu, not that it's the Raisa, but Moshe Rabbeinu is the one who enacted it, that Am Yisrael should speak about the day. And what does that mean? Hilchos Pesach b'Pesach, Hilchos Aseres b'Aseres, Hilchos Chag b'Chag. Every Chag, that he should talk about the Chag. So we do have the halachas here, the mission is going that you should read the Sefer Torah, that the Torah reading of each Chag should be relevant to that Chag. Here it says that also there's a Sholem Adorshin besides the reading of the Torah, also that we should learn. You should learn the Nani Chag b'Chag. This is besides the din of Shloshim Yom. There's another din of Shloshim Yom l'fnei Chag, 30 days. But here that means during the Chag. Over there, some say Dafka Pesach, maybe Sukkot, Shavuos for sure doesn't need 30. That surely doesn't need 30 days. But here we're talking about during the Chag. So during the Chag, there's a mitzvah. It's the kind of Moshe Rabbeinu to talk and learn about the Chag during the Chag. Rashi says the drasha was because by Dabra Moshe, the Gemara doesn't say the drasha as much as Rashi does, that he was speaking to them, that he was the one, he was to be speaking to them about the Moed. I didn't finish the Masechta because I missed a couple of daf in between, so I can't say the Hadra now. But everybody individually should
Why we should
be able-
as much as we
be able to celebrate. Everyone should celebrate. As we said on Monday, I think there's going to be Tu B'Shvat that Rabbi Gold is making some kind of a celebration for us, Tu B'Shvat, and including the Siyumim of people that want to join. Maybe more details will be coming, but if not, whoever can. So at least to celebrate each person individually. The Simchas Torah, the cover of the Torah says even greater than the learning of the Torah, to be Mechaber the Torah. And same way we finish Maseches Megillah, Be'ez Hashem, we shall also start Be'ez Hashem tomorrow, Maseches Moed Katan, and then the Chagiga. There are two more Masechtas left for Seder Moed. Rabbi Gold, if you could announce about Monday, whatever is going to be the plan for Tu B'Shvat.
Monday for Tu B'Shvat, we're going to finish today. We're just going to leave the last few lines of, again, the beauty is, if those people didn't hear, that the Bavli and the Yerushalmi in the Sector Megillah are both finishing today on two completely different dafs, on two completely different schedule. The Mikra just both happen to come out today. That Megillah is done and Moed Katan starts tomorrow for both of them. So Monday's my father's yurtzeit. So we're going to do a siyum on Monday at 1:00 with davening mincha, followed by a Tu B'Shvat Seder. Bezrat Hashem will broadcast it so people can join in with us. We're going to keep it small this year because of the illness and not have a big open house like I usually do. And for the people that are here, they're welcome to join us for lunch, for a little Sudash mitzvah, for celebration of finishing the Megillah in both Masechtas.
Thank you.
Mazel tov, teacher. Did you finish already?
Yeah, we just finished now.
Mazel tov.
Oh, hey.
Everybody's invited to the party. I love parties.
Thank you, everybody. Be well, everybody. And
Okay.
I'm sorry I still can't continue the second share. And Bez Hashem will have that film tomorrow. And then Yom Rishon, Bez Hashem wishes to continue with the second share also, 12 to 1.
The bar starts at
Thank you.
Tomorrow's